Imagine you're at a beachside bar. You know, you can hear the low crash of the waves just outside, the ice clinking in the glasses, the hum of conversations all around you.
Sounds like a pretty ideal vacation spot, honestly.
Right. And you look up and you see someone across the room. You haven't even said hello. You haven't, like, heard them speak a single word.
But you feel it.
Exactly. Instantly, inside your chest, something just clicks. You feel the spark.
Yeah, that classic movie moment.
But what if I told you that that undeniable magical intuition you're feeling in that moment isn't romance at all?
Oh, this is the part where we ruin the magic.
Kinda, yeah. What if your immune system is actually just hacking into your brain, rapidly scanning that stranger's DNA like some sort of biological barcode reader?
It completely shatters the poetic illusion of love at first sight, doesn't it?
Hmm.
We tend to credit those moments to a mystical alignment of the universe, or we just call it, good vibes.
Right, the vibes were immaculate.
Exactly. But under the surface, our bodies are actually running a ruthless, highly mechanical algorithm.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We have this fascinating stack of research notes in front of us, and we are unpacking the raw, unfiltered biology of human attraction.
It's a really deep stack of research today, too.
It is. We're looking at why the whole cliche of opposites attract is actually, well, an ancient law of survival dictated by our genes.
Yeah, we're going to pull apart the neurological mechanisms behind those really intense, chaotic holiday romances.
And ultimately, we're going to decode the long-term psychological firmware that determines whether two people can actually survive, say, a decade of marriage.
Because that instant click you feel across a crowded room, that's really just the first step in a very long, very complicated data processing sequence.
A sequence your body is running without your permission, by the way.
Absolutely, without your permission.
Okay, let's unpack this, because taking the leap from a romantic spark to the idea that my nose is secretly conducting a genetic audit on strangers is, it's massive.
It sounds like science fiction.
It really does. Let's start with the literal biological hardware. How is my body scanning someone from across a room before I've even spoken to them?
Well, the mechanism relies heavily on your olfactory system.
Meaning my sense of smell.
Right. Specifically how it processes something called the HLA system. That's the major histocompatibility complex.
Okay, that is a mouthful.
It is. But think of your HLA profile as the ultimate, highly detailed passport of your immune system.
A passport, got it.
Yeah, it's this unique genetic signature that dictates exactly how your specific body identifies and defends itself against, viruses and bacteria.
So my immune system basically has a unique ID, and it's constantly broadcasting that ID into the air around me.
It is, yeah, through your natural scent
That's wild.
and your olfactory bulb. The structure in your brain that processes smell actually has a direct, unfiltered superhighway to your limbic system.
Remind me, the limbic system is
The
the...
emotional and behavioral center of your brain.
Yeah.
So unlike visual or auditory data, which has to be routed through your brain's logical processing centers first, scent bypasses logic entirely.
So it doesn't even hit the rational part of my brain.
Exactly. That is the actual mechanism behind why the spark feels so visceral and intuitive. Your brain's emotional center is receiving genetic data before your conscious mind even registers what's happening.
Wow. That explains the how, but the why is what really stood out in the sources for me. I mean, why is my brain's emotional center so obsessed with the stranger's immune system passport?
Well, evolution is incredibly pragmatic and, frankly, a bit cold.
Cold how?
It doesn't care if you both enjoy indie cinema or share the same sense of humor.
Right, evolution doesn't care about your movie tastes.
Not at all. Evolution wants your future children to have the strongest, most diverse immune system possible just to survive whatever pathogens are out in the wild.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, if you procreate with someone who has the exact same immune blind spots as you, your offspring will inherit those exact same vulnerabilities.
Oh, I see. So your body is subconsciously seeking a partner whose HLA passport is maximally different from yours.
Yes. By combining two entirely different sets of immune defenses, you basically give your offspring biological super armor.
Super armor, I love that. Which brings us to this sweaty t-shirt experiment from our notes.
Oh, this is a classic.
It is. It's a famous study, but I think understanding the methodology is crucial here because it isolates this exact mechanism so perfectly.
Yeah, walk us through it.
So researchers took a group of men and had them wear the same cotton t-shirt for 2 consecutive days.
Which is already a bit gross.
Right. And no deodorant, no scented soaps, no spicy foods, no alcohol, just pure, unadulterated human scent.
The raw data.
Exactly. Then they put these worn t-shirts into boxes and asked women to smell them and rate the odors on a scale of intensity and pleasantness.
I mean, sticking your face into a box containing a T-shirt a stranger has been sweating in for 48 hours sounds objectively repulsive.
Totally. Yet the data showed a clear, undeniable pattern. The women did not guess randomly.
The results were highly specific.
Right. The t-shirts that the women consistently rated as smelling the most pleasant or sexy or comforting, those belonged to the men whose HLA complexes were the furthest genetic opposites from the women doing the smelling.
It's incredible. Their noses literally interpreted the smell of a wildly different immune system as an attractive fragrance.
The scent of a good genetic match registered in their brains as chemistry? That is just wild to me.
It really is. Your nose detects the opposite HLA complex and essentially floods your brain with positive signals. It translates cold, hard genetic compatibility into the warm, fuzzy feeling of physical attraction.
But I want to push back on this a bit, or at least explore this massive complication the research points out.
Yeah, the modern world problem.
Exactly. Because this evolutionary radar evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in the wilderness, right? It's not flawless today. The sources specifically highlight that taking hormonal medications, specifically hormonal birth control, can completely scramble this delicate radar.
It's a huge, profound biological caveat.
How does it even do that?
Well, to understand why it scrambles the radar, we have to look at how the medication actually functions. Hormonal birth control utilizes synthetic hormones to suppress ovulation,
Right.
which effectively tricks the female body into a state of pseudo-pregnancy.
Okay, so her body thinks she's pregnant.
Exactly. And when a mammal is pregnant, her biological imperatives drastically shift. She's no longer in the evolutionary phase of seeking a diverse mate to reproduce.
Because she's already reproduced, biologically speaking.
Right. She is now in the phase of seeking safety, shelter, and support to gestate and raise a child.
So she needs a village. And evolutionarily speaking, your village consists of your family.
Yes. She seeks the safety of kin, and kin share similar DNA.
Oh, wow.
So under the influence of these hormones, the biological compass flips. The woman's olfactory preference shifts away from the scent of genetic opposites, the diverse mates, and begins to actively prefer and reward the scent of partners who are genetically similar to her.
Because the brain is looking for family, for safety, and it mistakenly interprets that similar DNA scent as romantic attraction.
Exactly.
So it's like building a fantasy RPG team for survival. You don't want two healers. You need entirely different classes to survive. But the hormones make you think you need another healer.
That's a great way to put it.
So what does this all mean for people who meet and fall in love while their biological compass is altered by hormones?
I mean, wait, so if a woman meets someone, falls in love, and gets married while on the pill,
Yeah.
she is potentially choosing a partner with a highly similar immune passport.
Potentially, yes.
She feels a spark, but it's basically a false positive generated by the hormones. What happens when they decide to start a family? She goes off the medication, and her natural HLA scanning resumes.
What's fascinating here is that our bodies are constantly making invisible calculations behind the scenes, recalculating our environment.
When the hormonal block is removed, the true HLA scanning comes back online. The woman's biology realizes it's no longer pregnant, switches back to seeking a diverse mate, and runs a new audit on her partner.
And what does the audit say?
Suddenly, the deep, invisible scent chemistry that bound them together might just vanish.
Oh, no.
Her brain registers the similar DNA and might even begin to interpret her partner's natural scent as unappealing or strictly platonic.
Because the super armor requirement for offspring isn't being met anymore.
Exactly. The biological foundation of the attraction literally evaporates.
That is terrifying, honestly.
Is a harsh biological reality.
It provides this purely biological explanation for why some people wake up one day and feel like the connection is just gone, even if nothing on paper has changed.
Yeah, the chemistry literally shifted.
But I'm struggling to reconcile this ancient hyper-optimized survival radar with another phenomenon in our sources, though.
Which one?
Well, if our biology is so incredibly strict about finding the perfect genetic match for long-term offspring survival, how do you explain the absolute biological chaos of a week-long vacation in Ibiza?
The holiday romance.
Yeah. Why are we so prone to these wild, reckless, short-lived flings that make zero evolutionary sense?
Well, to understand the vacation effect, we have to move our focus away from the immune system and look at the neurochemistry of our brains.
Okay, shifting gears to the brain.
Right. A vacation isn't just a cessation of emails and early alarm clocks. Immersing yourself in a totally novel environment where the sights, the smells, the culture, and the daily routines are entirely unfamiliar, it triggers a massive, system-wide release of dopamine.
Now, I always hear dopamine described as the pleasure chemical, but the research notes frame it more as the molecule of motivation and craving.
Yeah, calling it the pleasure chemical is a massive oversimplification. Dopamine is actually the neurochemical of anticipation and reward prediction.
Anticipation, right?
When your brain is thrust into a highly novel environment, it releases dopamine to heighten your alertness, making you hyper-focused on all this new, potentially rewarding stimuli.
So your brain is essentially flooded with rocket fuel.
That's exactly it. Any romantic connection you make while your brain is in this soaked, highly reactive state is amplified tenfold. The environment itself is priming you to fall in love.
But it's not just the environment, is it? Our notes dive into a very specific piece of our DNA that dictates how intensely we experience this.
Yes, the DRD4 receptor gene.
Right. Can you break that down?
The DRD4 gene contains the instructions for building dopamine receptors in your brain.
Sure.
And there are specific variations of this gene, like the 7R allele, that basically act as genetic markers for novelty-seeking behavior.
And venture seekers.
Exactly. If you have this genetic variation, your dopamine receptors are essentially less sensitive.
So, to use an analogy, it's like having blown out speakers in your car.
That's a perfect analogy.
If your dopamine receptors are blunted, the standard volume of everyday life, going to work, paying bills, watching TV, feels like it's playing in a volume too.
Right, you can barely hear the music.
You need the blaring, chaotic concert of a novel environment or a risky situation just to feel a baseline level of thrill.
That is the exact mechanism. People carrying this DRD4 variation crave novelty simply to feel stimulated.
And when you drop an adventure seeker with blunted receptors into a brand new country?
The flood of dopamine finally gives their brain the volume it craves. They experience the environment and the people in it with an incredible, blinding intensity. They fall in love fast, hard, and dramatically.
Which sets up an inevitable crash, right? Because a holiday romance is heavily dependent on the scenery.
Completely dependent.
Once the flight lands back home, the novelty fades. The environment is familiar again, the dopamine production plummets, and the person with the DRD4 gene goes back to experiencing life at volume 2.
The environmental trigger is removed, so the rocket fuel is spent. The illusion shatters. The infatuation vanishes because the neurochemical high is just gone.
Wait, is a holiday romance basically just a biological parlor trick played by a change of scenery? Are we completely at the mercy of a dopamine storm if we have the DRD4 gene?
It sounds bleak when you put it like that.
Are these people just biological automatons doomed to bounce from reckless relationship to reckless relationship?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about being powerless to your DNA. It is about the power of data and self-awareness.
Okay, so we have a say in this.
Absolutely. Knowing your own genetic architecture, understanding that you have a neurochemical requirement for novelty, allows you to separate a fleeting dopamine storm from lasting love.
You can recognize the parlor trick.
Exactly. You recognize a vacation romance for the magnificent, temporary chemical explosion it is, without uprooting your entire life on day 3.
That saves a lot of moving expenses.
And furthermore, you can proactively hack your own dopamine. You can seek out novel, thrilling experiences with a long-term partner, rather than seeking that novelty through a new partner.
Which creates a perfect bridge to the final section of our sources.
Yeah, the long haul.
We've survived the dopamine storm of the initial spark. Now it's a random Tuesday evening, 5 years into the relationship.
The reality of everyday life.
Right. What dictates if you can actually stand being in the same room as this person? We are moving from the initial attraction to the long-term psychological firmware.
We're transitioning from the chemistry of attraction to the architecture of compatibility.
Yeah.
And just like the initial draw, your capacity for long-term harmony is heavily influenced by genetic predispositions.
Especially concerning how your brain processes risk and emotional regulation, right?
Yes, precisely.
The sources highlight a really compelling contrast here, specifically looking at serotonin. Serotonin is often called the stabilizer of the nervous system.
It regulates mood, sleep, and, crucially, how your brain perceives threat.
Threat perception. That's big.
Right. very big.
Yeah.
The research points out that certain metabolic variations in the genes that process serotonin can make a person naturally cautious.
Okay.
If your brain processes serotonin less efficiently, your amygdala, the fear center, becomes hypervigilant.
So you become prone to anxiety.
Right. Hyper-awareness of potential risks, and you develop a deep biological need for stability and predictability just to feel safe.
So this is the planner. The person who needs the itinerary finalized weeks in advance and the savings account padded.
Yes, exactly.
And not because they are inherently boring, but because their nervous system is desperately trying to maintain homeostasis in an unpredictable world.
Exactly. Now pair that highly cautious low serotonin processor with the partner we just discussed.
Oh boy, the DRD4 person.
The person with the DRD4 genetic variation, whose blunted dopamine receptors demand high-risk novelty. The one who wants to quit their job and move to a new city on a whim just to feel alive.
In a short-term scenario like that initial vacation phase, this friction actually feels like magic, doesn't it?
It does. The DRD4 risk taker pulls the anxious person out of their hypervigilant shell, showing them the world.
And the anxious person provides a desperately needed safe anchor for the risk taker.
But fast forward 10 years into a mortgage and raising children.
The environment is no longer novel. The dopamine has settled.
And that exact same genetic difference can transform into a grinding daily resentment.
The cautious person's nervous system registers the risk taker's behavior as reckless and inherently threatening to their survival.
And on the flip side, the risk taker feels suffocated by the cautious person, viewing their need for stability as controlling and agonizingly dull.
They're fundamentally operating on competing biological firmware.
Yes.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because you can look at this pairing like a high-performance internal combustion engine.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You absolutely need the explosive spark of the gasoline that's the DRD4 risk taker, right?
Right.
But if you just have the spark out in the open, it's just a destructive fire. You also need the heavy, rigid, cast iron engine block, the serotonin stabilizer to contain that explosion, direct the force, and turn it into actual forward momentum.
That's a brilliant way to look at it.
Without the block, the spark destroys everything. Without the spark, the block is just dead weight sitting in a garage. They are completely different materials, but when engineered together, they create a functional machine.
I love that mechanical framing because it perfectly illustrates the takeaway from the research. True compatibility does not mean finding someone with identical genetic firmware.
So it's not about being the same.
Not at all. It means understanding how your radically different mechanisms can interface.
If our DNA hardwires our character this way, does that mean conflict is inevitable for opposites? Or is awareness the ultimate hack to the system? I mean, does this awareness actually prevent a divorce? Or does it just give two fundamentally incompatible people a highly scientific vocabulary to describe exactly why they make each other miserable?
This raises an important question about how we utilize this data.
How so?
Well, conflict escalates when we personalize it, when we assume our partner is intentionally trying to hurt or restrict us.
Right, we take it personally.
But when you understand the underlying genetics, it depersonalizes the friction. The anxious person realizes, hey, my partner isn't rejecting my need for a safe home. Their blunted dopamine receptors literally require them to go skydiving to feel normal.
And the risk taker realizes, my partner isn't trying to trap me. Their serotonin metabolism makes unpredictability feel like a literal physical threat.
Empathy replaces hostility. You stop trying to change their genetic code, and you start actively engineering ways for the spark and the engine block to work together.
It turns a biological collision into an intentional partnership. That is incredible.
It really is.
So just to recap this whole journey for everyone listening, the next time you feel that sudden, undeniable spark at a bar, or you find yourself swept away by the chaotic energy of a summer trip romance, you will know exactly what is happening under the hood.
It isn't just magic.
No, it's your immune system running an express audit and your dopamine receptors screaming for volume. Listen to your heart, sure, but remember to listen to the brutal, brilliant mechanics of your biology, too.
And as you navigate the dating world with this new perspective, consider this final thought.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this entire deep dive exploring how our genetic checklists and deep-seated olfactory preferences evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to ensure our survival in the wild.
Right.
But look at the modern environment we've built. We completely mask our natural HLA immune sense with artificial perfumes, heavy deodorants, and scented detergents.
Oh, wow.
We increasingly meet our partners through dating apps, entirely skipping that crucial in-person smell test during the formative stages of attraction.
We're basically flying blind.
Exactly. We spend our lives in perfectly climate-controlled, sterilized rooms. If our ancient biological compass for finding true compatibility relies heavily on the raw, unfiltered data of human scent and environmental risk, we have to ask ourselves, is modern life completely scrambling our genetic navigation system for love?
Are we systematically blinding the very instincts designed to keep us together?
It's definitely something to think about.
That is a profound question to chew on. Thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive. It has been incredibly eye-opening to unpack the hidden architecture of human attraction with you.
Until next time, keep questioning the world around you and pay attention to what your biology is trying to tell you.
Take care, everyone.